All right. Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm here because of Anne. Anne was painting on some fabric, and she was doing it like we did for Stitch Camp in January of 2023. And I know Carol and I and Anne, we all took Stitch Camp that year, and we had so much fun. This was the finished piece that I did here. And what you do is you get a piece of fabric and you do a bunch of different painting. You add circles, you add marks, you just add a whole bunch of stuff. But then you end up with fabric, a big sheet of fabric that looks kind of like this. And I have all these little pieces. And what you do when you get the little pieces, you chop it all up into different little pieces, and then you reform it and you create a piece together background. But you do you actually have two pieces of fabric, and one piece of fabric you leave the background kind of light. You don't put a lot of color toward the background. And then in your other piece of fabric, you do everything opposite of what you did on the white fabric. So where you left it white, you'd add additional paint to color it in. And then you cut those two pieces up and combine them to create a background. That's how you get these mixed backgrounds. So you create two backgrounds, one light, one dark, and then chop it up and then put them back together roughly. See, it's just rough. And then you start doing your embroidery on top of the pieced background. And this is the second piece I'm working on. I went and pulled this back out because Anne was doing this again. And I'll show you my finished closer. But and you're supposed to, whatever you're feeling, pick a stitch and add it. You can stitch around some of the circles you made. You can add additional lines to make your circle larger. You can do couching like I've done there. And I've got couching up here. So whatever stitch you feel like you want to do, you add it. Well, mine ended up being kind of a sea themed with jellyfish. And to form my jellyfish, I just cut a circle-ish shape and kind of made it into a little puffball, gathered it around the edges, and then just laid it down here until it was kind of jellyfish shaped. And I worked the fabric because the fabric I used for the jellyfish was this batik. And I tried to work it so if the jellyfish was kind of turned up and you could see the bottom, I'd put the dark under there. So that's why that is there like that. And then it's all just embroidery floss, specialty embroidery floss. I paired it with regular embroidery floss to get the tentacles to look shiny. And I'm adding beads to some of my like seaweed stuff. And then you do long short stitches to attach your piece to a piece of felt is what I did. And so that way you don't see any of the work. You can see lots of cat hair. But you don't see any of the stitching work. It's between the felt and the front of the piece. And then this, I'm thinking I'm going to put it in a shadow box with that one there. And I'll put this wider one in the middle. And I'll just cut my felt to the same length. It may be a slightly wider so that I can do this long short stitch to hold my piece down to the felt. And I did black thread just to highlight the edges. And then I actually have a third piece that I could do a 3-piece panel piece here. And these, when you piece them together, you just do a running stitch. So it's just kind of basted together. You can see my base stitches. And then I'll do a bunch of embroidery on this piece. And I may not put any more jellyfish. I may shift my concentration to something else. But I thought a group of 3 of these in a beautiful shadow box. Would be really pretty to hang in that brand new bathroom of mine. So it'll be sea themed. I'm not sure what I'll do on this one, but it'll be some components will follow across. In other words, probably this seaweed, the feathering stitch here, will definitely be part of it. I tried to do a fish there. It doesn't look much like a fish, but I'm going to keep working at these. And I even made a label so I'd remember when we did it, which I'm glad I did, because we were trying to figure out when we did it. And if I hadn't done this label, I would have forgotten. So I just wanted to come on real quick and show this. And I'm just going to sit here and work on this for a while. And then I also, to do for the new bathroom, I have that huge cross stitch of the sea turtles. I want to do it up to have in there. I'm still working on my nature cross stitch. I did get a little farther. I'll show that with you since this is kind of a stitchy video. I'm doing the this nature season cross stitch thing that's in the magazine. And this is how far I've gotten. I've actually got this branch going now. And I'll show you the chart. This is actually the spring section. That's how far behind I am. I'm just getting started. I still have to stitch everything that's in this square. So I'm down to this branch right here. And then I have to do 2 more of these white and pink flowers. And then it's got a group of buds or berries down here. And there's some that'll go above this flower. And this branch will continue over into Summer's square. So you can see you get a moth or a butterfly in the center of each, down here in the corner that forms the center. And then you get this beautiful surround. So I'm working my way around. I can't wait to get the branch done. Everything on this branch, all these white flowers. I can't wait to work in different colors, because stitching this white on this kind of cream background is really difficult. But anyway, that's my update on that. And that is, it's a series in the Just Cross Stitch magazine. And the first one starts in spring 2025, and then so on, spring, summer, fall, and then the winter. And of course the cats want in from the porch. Tippy, you're going to have to wait. I've got the house closed back up because it's 46 degrees here this morning. Starting to warm up a little bit, and I did put a space heater on in the kitchen, thinking they would just all hang out in the kitchen, but they wanted out on the porch. And I try to put this back in the box off the frame so that it doesn't get creases. So anyway, this is what I was doing in 2023, January 2023. I don't know, is Stitch Camp going to be like something that happens on a regular basis? I don't keep up with it. I found that they sent me way too many emails for me to be able to manage. I can't, when things start coming in that magnitude, it's just like, forget it. And an email occasionally is okay, but I don't want 500 emails all the time. And my stepfather will sit and read all the emails. I click, 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 or select all and delete. So if I can't scan and see if it's something I really want, it just gets deleted. I just don't like email, period, much at all. So this was just a quick share to show you, and maybe do a search for Stitch Camp 2026, because I think they do it like January-ish. It was just too much, Carol, wasn't it? It was just way too many emails, way too many. All right. I hope everybody has a great day. I'm going to let the cat in before he drives himself crazy and get busy on this and work on it. I think all I'm going to do to finish this piece up is add the beads on the jellyfish. I've got beads mixed in here. And then there's little tiny beads that I put along the feathering on the blue just to make it look a little glistening. So there's so many things you can do to your pieces. So have a great day, everybody. Happy stitching.